powered by artificial intelligence.
Today's AI desk has a clear theme. Open models are getting more serious, enterprise agents are becoming more practical, and the web is starting to build the trust layer that AI media badly needs. We have Mistral 3 pushing open frontier models, Cohere releasing Command A+ for sovereign enterprise AI, OpenAI adding stronger provenance signals, Anthropic buying Stainless for SDK and MCP tooling, and Google DeepMind showing what AI-native interaction could look like through the mouse pointer. Mistral and Cohere are both emphasizing mixture of experts architecture, permissive licensing, multimodal capability, multilingual use, and hardware-conscious deployment. That matters because companies do not only ask whether a model is smart. They ask whether they can run it, customize it, control it, and explain where the data goes. Mistral 3 is the biggest pure model story in today's build. Mistral says Mistral Large 3 is a sparse mixture of experts model with 675 billion total parameters and 41 billion active parameters. The company says the models are released under Apache 2.0, which is the part developers should not skip. Open weights are useful, but a permissive license changes how seriously teams can evaluate commercial use, fine-tuning, and private deployment. The smaller Mistral models may be just as important as the large flagship. Mistral says Mistral 3 comes in 3 billion, 8 billion, and 14 billion parameter sizes, with base, instruct, and reasoning variants. The company also says the family includes image understanding and native multimodal and multilingual capability. That gives the release a data center to edge story, one big model for frontier use, and smaller models for laptops, private systems, local apps, robots, and latency-sensitive workflows. The careful framing is important. Mistral publishes benchmark and leaderboard claims, including a strong open model position on LM Arena. Those are useful signals, but they are still company launch data. The real test is practical, coding across real repositories, retrieval-augmented generation with citations, multilingual support outside English, vision on messy screenshots and documents, and deployment behavior under real latency and memory constraints. Cohere's Command A+ is the second open model story to watch. Cohere describes it as an open-source sparse mixture of experts enterprise model under Apache 2.0. The published snapshot lists 218 billion total parameters, 25 billion active parameters, 128,000 tokens of input context, and 64,000 maximum generation. Cohere positions it for reasoning, agentic workflows, RAG, multilingual work, and multimodal document processing. The strategic word in Cohere's launch is sovereign. Cohere is aiming at companies and governments that want capable AI without giving up control of infrastructure and data. The company says Command A+ supports 48 languages and can run on 1B200 or 2H100S at W4A4 quantization. Treat the performance claims as Cohere's claims until independently tested, but the target is obvious: enterprise agents that can run closer to the customer's environment. Put Mistral and Cohere side by side and the trend gets clearer. Both are using mixture of experts to talk about capability and efficiency. Both are using Apache 2.0 as a developer adoption signal. But the pitch is different. Mistral is presenting a broad open model family, from frontier scale down to edge models. Cohere is presenting an enterprise workhorse optimized for sovereign deployment, agents, RAG, and multilingual document workflows. For enterprise buyers, this is not abstract model discourse. Private deployment changes the risk conversation. A company can ask whether the model fits inside its security boundary, whether the cost is predictable, whether RAG answers can be grounded in internal documents, and whether agents can use approved tools without sending sensitive work through unmanaged systems. This is why open licensing, quantization, and hardware requirements matter. They decide whether a model is only impressive in a launch post or realistic enough for a serious pilot. RAG is where these enterprise model claims should meet reality. A strong RAG model has to read retrieved evidence, answer only from the relevant material, cite the correct source, and admit when the answer is not there. Long context by itself is not enough. The model has to stay grounded across long documents, tables, policies, tickets, PDFs, and code. That is why we should not judge Mistral 3 or Command A+ only by benchmark charts. The useful question is whether they make internal knowledge systems more reliable. OpenAI's Provenance update is not a flashy model launch, but it may be one of the most important infrastructure stories. OpenAI says it is strengthening content provenance through C2PA conformance, adding Google SynthID watermarking to images, and previewing a public verification tool. The company frames this as a multi-layered approach because metadata can be stripped, files can be transformed, and screenshots can break simple provenance chains. The reason this matters is that AI-generated images, audio, and video are now easy enough for normal people and bad actors to produce at scale. Provenance does not solve misinformation by itself. But it gives platforms, journalists, and viewers more context. OpenAI's specific claim is that it is combining shared standards, durable watermarking signals, and public verification. That is the right direction, not one magic detector, but layered evidence. The hard part is that the web is rough on provenance. Images get downloaded, re-uploaded, compressed, resized, cropped, converted, screenshotted, and reposted. Metadata can disappear at any step. That is why OpenAI's multi-layer framing matters. C2PA metadata gives signed information when it survives. SynthID adds a more durable watermarking signal. Public verification tooling gives people a way to check. The open question is platform adoption. The trust layer only helps if the places people share media preserve and surface it. Anthropic's Stainless acquisition is a developer infrastructure story, but it is directly tied to agents. Anthropic says Stainless is a leader in SDKs and MCP server tooling, and that Stainless has powered every official Anthropic SDK since the earliest days of the API. The strategic point is simple. Agents are only useful if they can reliably connect to APIs, tools, data sources, and workflows. This is where developer experience becomes model capability. A powerful model that cannot reach the right tools is trapped in a chat box. SDKs, CLIs, and MCP servers are the plumbing that lets agents do useful work. Anthropic is effectively strengthening the layer between Claude and the outside systems it needs to operate. That is why this acquisition matters even if it does not look as dramatic as a new model release. The agent future depends on boring reliability. If an agent is going to update a CRM, read a file, call an internal API, schedule a workflow, or open a pull request, the tool layer has to be dependable. Bad SDKs create brittle agents. Inconsistent connectors create support nightmares. Anthropic acquiring Stainless is a signal that the next phase of agent competition is not only about model intelligence. It is about whether the model can safely and consistently operate the software stack around it. Google DeepMind's AI pointer story is the product interface angle. The post describes experimental Gemini-powered pointer demos where the user can point and speak instead of writing a complicated prompt. Google says Gemini in Chrome can be used to ask about the part of a web page the user cares about, and that magic pointer will come to Googlebook. The core idea is that AI should understand the context of what you are pointing at, not force you to explain everything in text. The important idea is not the cursor itself. It is the shift from prompt boxes to context. Google describes a future where the system understands what the user means by this or that because the pointer, screen, and speech provide the missing context. If this works, AI becomes less like a separate destination and more like a layer across the computer. That is the same direction we see in agents, browser assistants, and operating system level AI. The interface race is quieter than the model race, but it may decide daily usage. Most users do not want to write perfect prompts. They want to point at a chart and ask what changed, select two products and ask which is better, or highlight a paragraph and ask for a reply. If AI can understand screen context and user intent directly, the product gets easier. That is why Chrome, operating systems, and device-level AI matter. The interface can become the moat. The connecting thread today is infrastructure. Mistral and Cohere are building model infrastructure for open and private deployment. Anthropic is strengthening tool infrastructure for agents. OpenAI is strengthening trust infrastructure for AI-generated media. Google is exploring interface infrastructure so AI can understand what the user is pointing at. These are not isolated stories. They are all about moving AI from impressive demos into systems people can actually depend on. The next step is testing. For Mistral and Cohere, watch independent coding, RAG, vision, multilingual, and deployment benchmarks. For OpenAI's Provenance work, watch whether platforms preserve and expose these signals instead of stripping them away. For Anthropic, watch whether Stainless makes MCP tooling easier for normal developers. For Google, watch whether AI pointer interaction becomes a real daily workflow or stays an impressive demo. So the clean takeaway for today is this: AI is not just getting bigger. It is getting more deployable, more connected, and more accountable. The model race is shifting toward open enterprise systems. The agent race is shifting toward reliable tool connections. And the media race is shifting toward provenance and verification. That is the story worth tracking, because the winners will not just be the labs with the best demos. They will be the ones that make AI useful, controllable, and trustworthy in real workflows.